Disney is closing the kingdom. Don't worry, the parks are not shutting down, of course, but one of its virtual worlds is. We're talking about a safe social networking site that's used by thousands of kids each day. And as Laura Diaz shows us, there is, however, a big push to keep it online.
But suddenly last week, Disney announced they're closing their gates to the game, saying only that VMK was created as an online promotion. It exceeded our expectations to the point that we left it open much longer than originally anticipated.
Digitized Disney Magic came to an end on May 21st, 2008. The MMO Virtual Magic Kingdom, VMK, closed its virtual gates after just 3 short years, leaving its players feeling puzzled. But why would Disney shut down a world that resonated so deeply with its fans? Has this magical land disappeared into the internet's rabbit hole of obscurity forever? And what became of those who once called it home? Today, let's step through the looking glass to explore the birth of VMK, the gameplay, its challenges, the sudden closure, and the enduring nostalgia its fans still nurture to this day. I was about 13 years old when I first stumbled upon VMK. At the time, I was busy listening to music on YouTube, playing Millsbury, and wandering around through forum threads, until I saw an ad glittering like the Cheshire Cat's grin, Virtual Magic Kingdom. Its charming graphics and whimsical Disney theme instantly intrigued me. With a single click, I tumbled headlong into this digital wonderland. I created my character, complete with one of VMK's signature adjective, noun names, and chose the Wonderland room as my guest room. This wasn't just a game. It was an adventure fit for Alice herself. As I've grown older, much like Alice, who continued to dream of Wonderland, my time playing VMK has never quite left me, inspiring me to create this video essay today. Act 1, The Birth of VMK. Disney is known for spinning its own kind of magic, blending imagination with innovation. Just as the White Rabbit repurposes his watch to keep time in a land where logic rarely applies, Disney often recycles old ideas to breathe life into new ones. During Disneyland's 50th anniversary, dubbed the happiest celebration on Earth,
our biggest celebration ever, gang. I wish we could do something really special.
Disney created VMK as a promotional MMO, a massively multiplayer online game designed to capture the magic of the parks in a virtual world. However, what began as a temporary campaign quickly enchanted players far beyond its original purpose. The roots of VMK trace back to 1995. Terry Dobson, Yale alumni and Imagineering art director of Disney, developed a CD-ROM adventure game set in Disneyland. Though the project was shelved, it became the seed for VMK. VMK, the FMV, or full motion video, was created on an $8 million budget. A reported 1/3 of the Disney Interactive team was assigned to VMK, and in 1997 it was pitched to the higher-ups with a demo of Frontierland. However, in 1998, the game was canceled, with the game Villain's Revenge replacing it on the docket until 1999. Bringing VMK to life forced a change in direction. The team changed the storyline to deter from the Villain's Revenge arc that they ended up using on Villain's Revenge, and instead decided to create something entirely different, an open world concept perfect for the MMO model. By 2003, Dobson and his collaborator Roger Holzberg, on a new budget of $25,000, had partnered with Solake, the creator of Habbo Hotel, to blend Disney's signature charm with Solake's programming expertise. The game even had a companion book of sorts in The Kingdom Keepers, conceptualized in 2002 with rumored insider info. When VMK was unveiled on May 23, 2005, players eagerly tumbled down the rabbit hole of beta testing. Main Street USA, Fantasyland, and Adventureland were the lands within the kingdom that players could explore, each a whimsical rendition of the Disney parks. The Parks and Resort Online team decided at this point to file for a patent on June 24, 2005 for the integration of real-life and virtual theme park rewards in VMK, showing the intention behind Disney to blend the virtual and real experiences.
Okay, so listen up. This is wicked cool. Behind me is VMK Central. I'm talking Virtual Magic Kingdom. You swing in here and the game changes.
Beta quickly ended on June 27th. The game area in Tomorrowland opened on October 5th, and Frontierland followed on the 12th of December. Throughout the years, they continued to develop the lands, finding challenges that were initially plaguing the team during those early conception days of the 90s. Completing Tomorrowland was a feat in and of itself, as the team had lacked direction of the ever-changing land. Eventually, it was complete on April 4th, 2006, and the final land, New Orleans Square, which opened January 8th, 2007. Roughly a year before the game closed. Much like Alice's journey, VMK invited players into a land full of surprises, from real-life codes that unlocked virtual treasures to magical lands waiting to be discovered. Act 2, Living the Magic. For its players, VMK wasn't just a game. It was a mirror reflecting the magic of Disney parks, allowing them to step into their own virtual wonderland. This wonderland was designed to depict the parks in an isometric projective, a technique for representing three-dimensional objects into two dimensions. This technique was widely used in the 90s and early 2000s, most famously for games like SimCity 2000. Upon logging in, players were greeted by a familiar map of Disney parks, rendered with an air of fantastical mythics. A soothing chime mixed with other synths plays in the background, urging players to explore. Each land was a blend of beloved Disney themes and creative interpretations, from colorful rooms inspired by park attractions to custom spaces players could design themselves. The map would grow to become so important to me as someone who did not grow up going to Disney parks. You see, my family did not have the fortune to frequent the parks, so seeing this map and experiencing them from home for free was significant in my young life. Later, I would circumnavigate the parks in my adulthood from memory of the virtual Magic Kingdom. The gameplay itself was similar to other MMOs of the time, without fighting and a heavy emphasis on the social aspect.
Come and check out a free and very cool online game where kids virtually play around Disney theme parks with other kids from all over the world.
There were thousands of players playing at one time, but only 15 players could occupy a room at any given time. If a room was full, players would be put into a queue and later were given the option to use a VMK pass to queue up while being able to roam the parks freely. Some of these public rooms had multiple instances. In the MMO world, this is a special area that generates a new copy of the location for a new number of players. These instances were named after compass directions. The game was complete with mini-games. Create your own fireworks show, take pictures of animals on Jungle Cruise, battle against your friends in the Pirates of the Caribbean game, hunt for ghosts in Haunted Mansion, play checkers with friends in the Magic Shop, make your own music mix to DJ in the Street Music Mixer lobby, or visit the Tomorrowland arcade where you could play other browser games. These browser games, much like VMK, were powered by Adobe Flash. There was Airlock Escape, similar to Sega Dreamcast's Choo Choo Rocket, Blast in Space, similar to Atari's Asteroids, and Hyperspace Mountain, a game where you would collect parts to fix your spaceship. One minigame didn't quite make it to release, and that was the VMK card game. However, there were many more mini-games that Disney had created to promote their other properties, such as the Expedition Everest game, the Monsters, Inc. game, and a Narnia adventure game, to name a few. The promotions didn't end there. There was an iPod sweepstakes, a Kellogg's special code collaboration, the Disney Movie Rewards program, and the list goes on and on. However, despite so much to do, it was very clear that this game leaned heavily into the social network aspect of the game. Being socially centered was essential to this game's success. Many players flocked to forums to discuss the kingdom, coordinate trades, and hang out in different parts of this virtual landscape. It was a curious concoction of familiar MMO mechanics and Disney-specific quirks. Hosts ran events, players embarked on quests, and users created rooms that became miniature worlds of their own, complete with rides, restaurants, player-created quests, and even daycare centers. Yes, daycare centers complete with an adoption process, many ending in scams. Rooms where players would find a date, adding to their signature taken for the day, participate in games of cute or boot. As the name suggests, your outfit would either be dubbed cute or you would be boot. However, my favorite rooms to frequent were the rare trading rooms. It was in these rooms that players would trade furniture items, clothing, or pins. Now, at the time, the player base was mostly teens and children, which meant that they were really not considering the economics of the game. So, trading an item that was not considered rare for something that was extremely rare was definitely possible. Act 2, Part 2, Maintaining the Magic. All of this socializing would not have been possible without VMK's moderators, like a team of card soldiers enforcing the Queen's rule, ensuring everything remained family-friendly. Every word typed in the chat was scrutinized to prevent inappropriate language or the sharing of personal information, down to the inability to type numbers. Players had to get creative to circumvent the restrictions. Even the game's opening hours, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, were carefully curated to ensure real human monitors, cast members, maintained the magic, indicated by a VMK or DA in front of their screen name. In addition, players had the ability to apply to be community leaders, acting as an honorary position with the CL by their username. Testers had the QA in front of their names, and producers had their typical usernames. Other badges and distinguishers were added over time for in-park integration. From the start, as the patent filed in June 2005 suggests, the interaction permits for rewards earned in the electronic theme park experience to be redeemed, and activities on one or both of the live and electronic formats are designed to drive increased players visiting of the live and or electronic versions, meaning that there would be a connection between the events in the Disney parks and virtual prizes. These exclusive items were created with the intention of promoting the Disney parks to fans. As memory serves, in this free-to-play world, these items would distinguish the quote-unquote rich from the poor in-game. The place where fans could obtain these items would be at VMK Central in the parks. At VMK Central, you'd be able to do in-park quests for virtual prizes. Once you completed the quest pamphlet, you would get cards from a cast member that would give exclusive codes for virtual furniture items, clothing items, or exclusive guest rooms. You could also earn prizes from specific items you purchased in parks, like hats, shirts, or pins. Pins were a vital part of the economics in Virtual Magic Kingdom. Virtual pins, much like the trading enamel pins in real life, had a variety of images, over hundreds were made, and often came in exclusive sets. However, unlike real life, some had a magical ability. This park-to-game unification created a bridge between the physical and digital realms as seamless as stepping through the looking glass. This was all managed by the dev team. One team member of note was Yvonne, or Yavin, I never quite learned how to say that name, who was the direct communication between the devs and players. He even wrote his own column in the VMK newsletter called Yavin Speaks. Act 3, The Sudden Closure. Some say that all good things must come to an end. So as I got ready to enjoy my early summer on a Wednesday afternoon, I was shocked to find that the game I held near and dear to my heart would come to an end. I had no idea that on April 8th, 2008, it had been announced that the game would close. I was lucky to play the game at my grandparents' on weekends, so my time on the game was not a daily endeavor. So on May 21st, 2008, as I prepared to enjoy a summer of virtual adventures, Disney closed VMK for good. The abrupt end mirrored Alice's own departure from Wonderland, unexpected and bittersweet. Players took to forums, sharing memories and lamenting the loss of the world they had called home. But this began an onslaught of fan reactions, such as online petition, an organized protest outside the entrance of Disneyland, and rumors. These rumors fueled the fan base, as some made claims that Disney would reinstate VMK either through new celebrations of the parks or any other means of returning. However, the creators continued to squash this hearsay, even at one point offering free subscriptions to other Disney online games of the time, Pirates of the Caribbean, Toontown, or Club Penguin. Behind the scenes, a lot was going on. The team was hit hard with the news of Holzberg's and fellow ex-Imagineer Randy Pausch's cancer diagnosis in 2004 and 2006. The latter died in 2008 after telling his life story in a famous lecture at Carnegie Mellon, published in the book The Last Lecture, while the former, Holzberg, survived through early detection. This weighed heavily on the team during VMK's run. And in addition, other teams working at Disney were starting to create a stir. In fact, years later, Holzberg, in a 2021 article, stated that VMK was essentially cannibalizing Disney's pay-to-play game that predated VMK, called Toontown. He claimed that there was initial pushback from his team as they noticed the benefit of VMK. It sold tickets to the parks, but the war between the company and its different factions caused his team to, quote, scale in, cave, and back down. VMK was only intended to run for 1 year. But after 3 years, the magic was gone. As fans flocked to various places on the internet, they landed in many different spaces over the years. Some sought out Club Penguin, Pirates of the Caribbean, or Toontown, while others reminisced in the forums hoping for a miracle, and some shared their intention to bring the MMO back to life, while others decided to make something entirely different. Act 4, Recapturing the Magic. Not all fans decided to move on to other Disney properties. Many, myself included, were hopeful that either VMK would return or someone would make a recreation. Now, here's the point of the video where I want to lead with a disclaimer. Much of what I'm researching here was tough to track down and relied heavily on using the Wayback Machine, my own memory, or the memories of other fans following the recreations. At this time, there were rumblings in the community of another game similar to VMK called Virtual Family Kingdom. Many fans ready to join during beta testing flocked to the site and forums. Its initial release on May 22nd, 2008 shows that the game was in the works for some time. However, it was vastly different from VMK and seemed more like a creation that was inspired by the kingdom. VFK has its own strange history, with rumors of a family of Mormons creating the game, a rip-off Nancy Drew game, an interesting membership process, and more. But we'll dive deeper into this in a future video. Now, my timelines might get a little muddled here, but the first hint at a VMK remake was GP VMK, online June 6, 2008, with about 500 unique viewers. However, this was not quite a recreation of the game, but instead a time capsule of sorts. Initially on the site, it was called a walkthrough recreation of VMK by its creator, GP Dot. No gameplay was involved, and later this site changed to the name VMK Revisited, dating back to 2010. What GP VMK did was ignite hope amongst its fans, essentially making them believe that a recreation was possible. Now, at this point in the video, we take a turn into a world of dev drama, toxic player bases, and dedicated fans. I want to lay claim over the fact that I want these recreations to do well, and I do not want to highlight drama as a means to demean the community. I love this community, and much of the background gameplay in this video has been from these recreations. I truly wish that these communities will one day thrive. I simply want to put out the narrative my own research has created. It is my hope that with my unique perspective as a fan who has followed this for years, I can outline something new. On November 20th, 2008, a YouTube user by the name AdamBinder123 released a video called VMK Unleashed, the new VMK, in which he announced that spring 2009, a new VMK would be released and is in programming. However, this project was short-lived, ultimately closing early. Next, I'm going to discuss Open VMK, also known as OVMK, which dates back to 2011, with an opening day of September 17th, 2013. In researching this fan recreation, I discovered a few things. It is important at this point to identify two key players, Nick and Amy. In many narratives about OVMK, I have seen many claim that Amy had created the server code entirely on her own. However, it has been said Nick was the original creator of OVMK, who began the development, and years later, Amy came in to assist in coding. Nick, in his own words, states that he began to cure his own quote-unquote Disney depression in creating a Disney at-home game, causing him to stumble on VMK, a game he played briefly in his younger years. In his words, OVMK was a need, and he says, see a need, fill a need. April 27th, 2011, he announced the work he was doing on Twitter. However, Nick seemed to need some help and was introduced to Amy. Amy had rumored experience with Coke Studios, linked to My Coke, another game lost to obscurity that I'd like to cover in the future. The ending of this interaction detailed Amy's plans to make her own version of VMK that would be open sourced, so all could recreate the game and the magic could live on. This led to a wave of attack on Nick, ultimately squashing the steam he had to continue the remake. And with the possibility of competing with Amy, he decided to close OVMK. Whilst Amy continued to claim to be the sole developer, she moved on to create her own version called My Mystical Kingdom, never really making good on the promise to open source the code. Today, if you search VMK into Google, the first thing that will pop up is My VMK. Amy began development of My Mystical Kingdom which later changed to the name MyVMK through a community poll. The game launched on September 27, 2013. At this point, Amy had gained the trust of the community as players quickly flocked to her side. In its initial days, there were 3 staff members. I would describe these beginnings as a calm, fun time being back in the kingdom. However, this magic would tarnish over time. Rumors of special privileges given to players, real-world transactions of money for items in-game, bullying and harassment from player to player, staff to player, and creator to staff began to circulate. The community continued to see a mass exodus of players, designers, and staff for many reasons over the years. Despite all of this, the game continues to run today, with new expansions released often. The game is the only one close to completion as a VMK remake. This is because almost all of the minigames work, but it is also a bit of a deviation from the original game in its style. It has a dedicated player base, and I have yet to see any updated drama these days. Now, it's most important to mention that MyVMK is not where this story ends. In 2018, there was a competitor of MyVMK that emerged, with beta testing beginning in June of 2020. Now, it is essential to note that this game purposefully distinguishes itself from MyVMK, often quelling any discussion of it on the game or Discord server. So there's no bashing of the previous game happening, and instead I could say that players basically do not discuss MyVMK at all, despite many of them having come from the game. In fact, many play both games. Netcot aimed to focus heavily on community, a pillar of the OG VMK, introducing Discord quests with in-game prizes, a reflection of in-park integration. The game has its own Discord integration. Host events take place, best guest room competitions, and more. Netcot later changed its name to VMK Legacy or VMKL in 2022. There isn't much to be said in terms of drama with this game, other than most of it is behind closed doors if it does exist. The community is extremely welcoming to new players, often gifting them items or getting them up to speed on the game's unique culture or mechanic. This is apparent in the fact that when a popular player by the name of Midden, and I truly hope I'm saying that correctly, passed away in real life, a shirt was created in-game to honor her, as well as a picture of her character on the homepage as a reverence to her kindness sealed within the magic of the game. In addition, members of the community create items that, upon winning contests, could be made into the game. Creative way to alleviate the load for designers. One thing to note, however, is the rather slow development of the game. As the community is even smaller than the former game, this means the dev team also is. Currently, in 2024, the only minigame working is Jungle Cruise and the Street Party Music Mixer game. Many of the players log in for the planned events, around 50 or 60 at once, or to ride the rides for a chance to pull the sword from the stone, around 20 on a daily basis. Sadly, without a larger player base in-game or more devs willing to volunteer time, the development will continue to dwindle. Players often urge anyone they see online talking about VMK to join their warm community. Act 5, VMK's Legacy. If anything can be said about the kingdom that was VMK, it is this. The game will lay down in history as a tale of persistence. Persistence from the original developers of the game pushing for its release since the 90s, persistence from the administrative team in maintaining the magic, and persistence from its fans to preserve the nostalgia. VMK remains a testament to the power of imagination and the way digital spaces can create lasting connections. Though the game itself is gone, its influence and the memories it created remind us that sometimes the most wonderful adventures happen when we dare to tumble down the rabbit hole. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe for more content like this.